Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time today. Appreciate that everybody is all zoomed out, as Sam says. Appreciate we'll try and keep this on time, so not to run over too much. And this is really just an introduction into our new partnership between Xenogenics and FinancialForce PSA. So PSA being Professional Services Automation. So I'll jump straight into that, and just a little bit about Xenogenics and who we are. So the company was founded in 2002 by our two founders and still directors, which is quite impressive. And they started the company back then as a process and change management consultancy, going into large organizations and spending time with them, mapping out the business process, identifying where there's waste in that process, and then coming up with ways to streamline and simplify that process. In 2007, the company started looking at a CRM system and eventually settled on getting Salesforce. And while implementing Salesforce, just for the two of them, they quickly discovered that actually what they do as a process and change management consultancy really sort of lended itself to implementing Salesforce in a very effective manner. So in 2008, started the process to become a Salesforce partner, or 2007, sorry, started becoming a Salesforce partner. And then late 2007, did their first Salesforce implementation and been a Salesforce partner ever since. Over the years, we've formed a number of partnerships with various companies, so obviously Salesforce being the core of that. Then we use Elements Cloud for our process mapping, and Congo Composer for complex document generation, and most recently FinancialForce. So late last year or middle of last year, we partnered up with FinancialForce on the accounting arm, so implementing the accounting platform, the billing and revenue recognition. And now we're going into their PSA product as well. We're a company of 15 employees. There's 13 consultants across Salesforce and FinancialForce. We've done nearly, or close to 500 customers. Done in terms of new Salesforce implementations, about 230, 240 new implementations over the years. And the company keeps growing at a steady rate. We've got a very high, and we've managed to maintain our customer satisfaction with Salesforce. So this is an independent review done by Salesforce, where customers are sent feedback, and they complete those surveys and rate us on that. So we've managed to maintain that to about 5.5 over the years. And we pride ourselves on that as well. The services that we offer range massively, from just training people to supporting customers, to proper digital transformation projects where we try and get people to move the entire business onto the Salesforce platform in some sort of way. Obviously implement Salesforce and FinancialForce, and do integrations with other systems. And then obviously for people that have already got those systems, we look to optimize or develop new features for them. And then the various apps that we cover is pretty much all the core Salesforce applications, as well as the FinancialForce accounting and the PSA platform. Go on to the next slide, Sam. This is just giving you an overview of where we're at as a business and sort of what we've done, or the sort of platforms that we work on. So we work exclusively on the Force.com platform, hence why FinancialForce is a key strategic partner of us, because we made a decision many years ago that we would only look at the Salesforce platform and stick to that, and then other complementary applications that work on that platform. We work in a unique methodology where we do try and focus on the sort of building a solid foundation on the systems that we've got and the tools that we have at our disposal. So trying to be the most qualified set of consultants within the ecosystem, if we can be. It's ever-changing goalposts, so it's very hard to keep up with that. And we try and ensure that all businesses leverage the Salesforce platform as much as they can, especially looking at all the different departments that we can get onto Salesforce. Because once you start as a company sort of adopting Salesforce as a platform, it does really become quite a inexpensive platform to run. The more processes you can get onto the force.com platform. And then our vision, mission statements, our mission as a company, and this will come into a little bit more light in the next slide, is we really want to partner with our customers. We're not looking for a sort of single transaction with our customers. We're looking to help them achieve operational excellence and for them to partner with us on a long-term basis. And we try and use the Salesforce platform to sort of facilitate that and use the encompassing other associated applications to be able to facilitate what we're trying to achieve in terms of operational excellence. Okay, and this slide sort of really does, I think, highlight why FinancialForce is such a strategic partner of ours. So this is a sort of very high level indication of the far right. We're starting with lead gen, which we use Pardot, the Salesforce B2B marketing application. And then in the middle of that, we sell some services. So we use the Sales Cloud element. We also use Service Cloud, but we may use CPQ within that, but just at a very high level. We've got Pardot for marketing, Sales Cloud for sales, and then we've got customer services, which is in box number 5 in the bottom right. But then FinancialForce fits in nicely into that because we've got FinancialForce that can help us help our customers deliver their services and manage that delivery. But at the back end of that, the financial part of FinancialForce is the invoicing, the cash collection, the really running your accounting system on Salesforce. And as I mentioned, there's a number of other applications there. So we've got the accounting application, supply chain management, billing central for complex billing requirements, and then also revenue recognition, which all can be done within a single platform. So this is where our mission statement really comes into it. So we try to partner with our customers to achieve operational excellence using the Salesforce platform and associated applications. So this is where the associated applications comes into it. Is FinancialForce really lets us provide an end-to-end service for our customers, so that they literally maybe only need 2 platforms, emails and then FinancialForce with applications bolted onto that. And next slide, Sam. So some of the challenges that we find over the years, having dealt with many professional services or organizations or organizations that have some sort of managed services that they need to be able to deliver those services to their customers. And these are some of the key challenges that we found over the years, which FinancialForce really and the PSA application really do help with that. So many organizations, whenever you ask them, what's your number 1 challenge? Then normally the first thing that always comes up is there's a disconnect between sales and the rest of the business, so finance and services. Many companies still have lots of different systems and they're manual processes to interact between those systems, or even within a system, they have very manual processes, which are often very error prone. There's little or no project tracking because it will be done on sort of post-it notes or on an Excel spreadsheet, which sometimes have seem very comprehensive and very complex ones, but they're still very manual and they're still very error prone. And somebody leaves the organization that created it, and then there's a massive hole in that organization just to be able to maintain that. with those processes, there's often very little or no way to gauge utilization rates. And that's particularly important because if you can't really gauge the utilization rates, you really do struggle as an organization to scale and grow and know when's the right time to scale and grow without putting the business under a lot of stress. And then from a finance point of view, often customers are getting the wrong bill, they're getting inaccurate bills, they're not getting billed on time because nobody knows when to bill somebody. So the whole process around that is then sometimes just very cumbersome and delays just the business receiving that revenue, which could impact businesses massively, especially now during COVID. So why we chose FinancialForce PSA? Well, visibility, the visibility allowing the business to sort of scale and grow is massive. Just being able to have everything in one place at your fingertips is just a game changer for a lot of customers. It's all built on the Salesforce platform. So the Force.com platform is the underlying architecture that both the Sales Cloud is driven off of, the Service Cloud is driven off of, but then also PSA and FinancialForce Accounting. Gone are the days of siloed data systems, so having data all over the place and having manual connections between that or very expensive servers that have to be maintained. Again, because everything's on the Force.com platform, servers are very well maintained, security levels are very well maintained, and everything's on the same platform. We often get asked, well, where does the data stop and start between Salesforce and FinancialForce? Well, it doesn't really. It's just a continuation of one another. We can now connect sales and service and finance all on one platform without them having to leave anything. So sort of the same as having siloed data. Another key thing for me is the 360-degree view of the customer. So account managers, finance people, everybody within the organization that can or want to, they have a complete view of how that customer is as a customer, how they have been servicing that customer as a supplier, and be able to help and make informed decisions on how to better manage that customer going forward. And then the last point, which I think is quite key, is the great customer support from FinancialForce themselves. Tremendous organization to work with and very, very accommodating in every aspect. So yeah, another very key driver to that. So I'm going to hand over to the FinancialForce guys now. So Sam and Andy. Andy's going to introduce Sam in a minute, but Sam is really going to be driving the demo. But Andy, if I maybe just ask you a couple of questions and sort of the things that we've seen over the years. Businesses really do struggle running their business on, or running a services business, but sort of running a services business without any meaningful data is even harder at times. Is this something that's easily overcome with PSA?
Hi, Dwayne, and yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Obviously, it's not just any old data. It has to be quality data. It has to be timely data, because if you've got inconsistencies around the business, you have spent all your time squabbling over data rather than actually getting down to do things. Data is absolutely critical because complex services organizations, spend all of their time making decisions. It's all about, what we term the right five, the right person, the right place, right time, right cost, right skills. You've got to make those kind of decisions all the time, and you need data in order to do those effectively. Why? Because if you don't get the right person at the right cost, you're leaching margin. If you don't get the person with the right skills, that's impacting on customer satisfaction. So you have to make decisions based around data. And the reality is that if you make those decisions better, it has a dramatic impact on the performance of your business, on the performance of the enterprise. There's some research done by an independent organization called SPI, and I know you've got it available and you can share it with people. But it just says that if you're a services organization, you don't have a PSA in place, as opposed to having a fully integrated PSA and CRM solution, the impact that can have is typically about 6% increase in margin. or a 5% increase in utilization. I mean, those are huge numbers
Yeah.
that have an immediate payback into the bottom of your organization. One of our customers, Highland Software, they won an award last year from TSIA, which is the Return on Investment of the Year award. The return on investment on their delivered project was 670%.
Wow.
You don't get that kind of return on investment from any other
No.
technology investment that I've been involved in. So data drives improved performance, and the performance improvements are dramatic.
That is amazing stats. And yeah, as you say, it's just, you can have a very small change can have a massive impact on the business, and can have massive net gains. And what do you feel are the sort of key drivers to success?
Well, I mean, there isn't a silver bullet. If there was a silver bullet, everybody would be doing it. To use a cricketing analogy, it's not a game. It's a test match rather than a one-day international. It's not about 4s and 6s. It's about 1s and 2s. And again, it's not just tech. You've got the people, the process, and the technology that all comes together. The SPI research I alluded to has 5 dimensions to a successful sort of mature organization: leadership, client relations, human capital, service operations, and finance. And you've got to get all those things aligned and working to be really performant. As far as the tech piece is concerned, there's 2 things. Firstly, your technology has got to deliver the basics. It's got to do what your business requires. And we're really proud of the fact that this year we were awarded, FinancialForce were awarded the G2 Crowd, as being market leader in terms of the capabilities and service that we offer as part of the service. So that's one thing. You've got to do the basics. The second is, we know that running a services organization can be complex. What we need to do is make it simple. If we can make it simple for the people that are in the business, if we can make it seamless, if we have a consistent flow of data so that people don't, they don't care if they're in Salesforce or FinancialForce. They just want a simple job, simple tools to do a simple job most effectively. And if they can do that, then that's a big tick, as well as, of course, providing you with the data to make some decisions. I'm conscious that we're short on time. Do you want to see some stuff now, Dwayne?
Oh, it would be great if we could.
Great. Okay. So could I introduce Sam? Sam's one of our product whizzes, and she's going to take us through sort of 3 quick little demo snippets. The first is going to be looking at that sort of seamless connectivity between sales and service and delivery. The second is around resourcing, and the third is going to be around how you can get projects delivered. So Sam, over to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Andy. Okay, so as Andy said, we're first going to take a look at disconnected sales and services. So in most PS organizations, the sales services and then maybe even finance are disconnected. And that leads to kind of, overall lacking of visibility, which in turn kind of results in poorly scoped deals, heavy discounting, and often broken customer promises. So using the FinancialForce PSA, on the Salesforce platform, the sales and services are seamlessly connected. So if I just move into the org now, I'm sat on a homepage as a PSA delivery manager. So because the Salesforce and FinancialForce are so easily connected, on my home screen, I can pull all, both information basically. So what I can see here is this home screen is showing me opportunities expected to close. So it's pulling in some sales or Salesforce information. But at the same time, at the right-hand side, I've got project health. So just, red, amber, green of how my projects are running, and also historical utilization for my resources. So again, just kind of one page, but as Andy said, you can't really tell which is FinancialForce, which is Salesforce. This is highlighted even further on kind of what we call the services executive dashboard, but it can be on any dashboards that you make in your Salesforce organization. So what we can see here is just some key services information, such as the project health again, and then mainly project profitability. So this is kind of margin, real-time margin on your projects. At the right-hand side there, we've got an embedded sales pipeline, a funnel report basically, showing you how your sales are coming down. You can hover over at the proposal stage, you can say, wow, we've got loads of proposals, so's to do, and you can see that all up front, tightly aligned. If you had the finance side of it as well, in the same dashboard, you could get a project age receivable. So you can see with your aging brackets, how your billing or how your debt is doing on top of all your projects. So this is just kind of a nice, easy dashboard to show you how everything can be aligned together. And I'm sure, as you know, if you already use Salesforce, one drill down into each of these reports takes you into that underlying data. Because everything's sat on the platform and connected, you've not got spreadsheets that takes you hours to kind of manipulate. It's all the underlying raw data is sat right there. So the final thing on this is we'll just go and look at an opportunity, a live opportunity at the moment. So we're looking at one called Primatech client implementation. And as you can see, we're sat at proposal price quote. So we've not even closed the opportunity yet. We're still working on it. The probability of it closing is 75%. But because FinancialForce and Salesforce are so tightly aligned, I, as the resource manager, can start resourcing or requesting the resources that I know I need to actually fulfill this project. So here you can see I need 5 roles for these hours between these dates. And not only can I define the roles, but I can actually start defining the resources that are going to complete that job. So I get the right people on the right jobs ahead of time. What this ultimately allows me to do, because all of these roles are aligned, is if we scroll down on the opportunity, it allows me to get this summary of what my planned costs are, what my planned revenue is, and then ultimately what my planned margin is. So again, before I've even closed the opportunity, I can see what my planned margin is, and that really helps me driving the business. Again, the last thing, before we close the opportunity, if I wanted to, I can carry on continuing planning on the project. So if I even wanted to go in a bit more detail, before the opportunity is closed, I can create a project, or I can even create it from a template. So we have template settings, which is kind of a rinse and repeat. So you don't have to kind of create them from scratch. But as you can see here, I have already created a project, and from the opportunity, I'm one click basically down into that underlying project. So what this basically shows you here is how the collaboration between the departments, sharing the same opportunity records and ultimately the reports, allows you to kind of early plan. You can do some accurate scoping, and you can set realistic expectations. So hopefully, obviously, you increase customer satisfaction. And then, of course, obviously trying to maximize your margins as well.
Fantastic. Love it. Thank you, Sam. So hopefully you can see it looks as one, it acts as one, it looks simple, even though we know it's a complex organization. And most importantly, it gives us data, and those data means we can make better decisions, and that impacts our business performance. That's super. Resourcing. Do you want to pop into resourcing, Sam? Getting the right people is absolutely critical. So yeah, away you go.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, resource utilization is usually kind of, the bread and butter of most PS organizations. And without an effective way of doing it, we usually end up with kind of the wrong skills on key projects, spending money maybe on contractors when you don't need them, and also burning out kind of your best team members. So if we go back into the system here, we're going to firstly click on something called a resource manager workspace. Now, you might not have a resource manager role defined in your team, but you probably have some people that actively go in and complete this role as part of their overall role. So if you're coming in, day by day, and you're saying, right, I'm going to concentrate on resourcing for the next hour, you can click into this workspace, and it's basically a one-stop shop, really, of what your resourcing is doing. So what I mean by that is you've got your frequent tasks down the left-hand side, so things like creating new resource requests, updating skills, looking at some planners. And then in the top, or in the middle, top right, you've got alerts as well. So you can keep alerts of, low utilization of resources, assignments ending soon, open resource requests. And as well, you can embed your own dashboards, your own list views that make sense in this workspace to give you, like I said, that one-stop shop view of how your resourcing capability is. All of these things here and here and here kind of click into the underlying data. So it's all just one click away into what you need to complete for that day. So let's go into this resource planner tool here and just have a look at a visual representation of your resources. So this resource planner here, we're looking between these dates, and we're looking at bi-weekly. With one click, I can change to look at it by daily, monthly, quarterly, however you need to view it. But what we are actually looking at is a list of resources down here. And then in the right-hand side is their schedule, their plan, etc. So green means that they're perfectly booked out. Yellow means they've got some white space. And red means that they're overutilized. I can apply different filters on here. So for example, I've just applied that I'm interested in only looking at the UK resources. But if you wanted to put other filters on, such as practice, or, you know, the availability is over 50%, by all means, you can set your own filters. You can have individual working calendars. So majority of my staff work 40-hour weeks, so 5 days, Monday to Friday. So that's a typical working calendar. But someone like Brenda, for example, Brenda doesn't work Fridays, so she's part-time, so she's sat on her own working calendar. So as soon as she hits 32 hours that week, she's fully utilised. I can't book her on anymore. And then again, you can put palm trees in for different regions. You can basically assign when bank holidays are coming up. Again, this is basically meant to have a really good visual representation instead of you having to know. It's kind of doing the learning for you. If we drill down into one underlying resource, it then opens up and it shows you the individual assignments. So for example, Anne Brogan has got 2 assignments and she's also going on holiday soon. We can easily see as well that different colours can be assigned to different types of assignments. So if I switch on here, you can see the colour legend. You can put, you know, yellow for billable, green for travel, red for red account, etc. So again, you get that really easy visual representation of what Anne's booked on, what she's not booked on, where you can change stuff to make your life a lot easier. And then you can do kind of key things in here. So if you right click on any of these assignments, you can, you know, create another assignment on the same project. You can swap a resource out and in. You can split it, clone the assignment, and you can also pin your top resources to the top of the page. So instead of it being in alphabetical order, you have pinned of where you need to be. For this example here, we can see that Anne next week is going on holiday. So as a resource manager, or if, you know, I'm just fulfilling that role for the next hour, I come in here and I say, right, she actually can't work on that analytics project next week. And actually it's only got 3 weeks left in the project. So what I'm going to do here is I can see that Andrew above is free. So what I'm going to do is, as of next week, I'm just going to split this assignment. And I'm going to say, as of Monday next week, we're going to split it and we're going to push it up to Andrew Clark. And as you can see there, this resource planner has taken it out of Anne, pushed it up to Andrew. Don't worry, until I press this save button at the top here, these blue little boxes are just in draft progress. So no kind of resource gets updated on what we're doing. We can mess around with this, you know, swap resources about, etc. And until I press save, nothing's set in stone. But this really should be that kind of one source of truth of what your resourcing schedule is going to be. Now, we'll move into the capacity planning side. So we've looked at the schedule, and we've looked at the past, but we also have something called capacity planning in our engines. So this is part of Salesforce and FinancialForce's Einstein application. And we provide out of the box this PSA overview. So what's embedded in here is one dashboard that I'm just going to drill down into called capacity. And this is where you can do some kind of really good capacity planning. So you can see here there's a multitude of different dashboards just based on capacity. So we've got capacity by region, and you can change that to practice group if you needed to. You've got capacity by month, and then you've just got a nice overall of scheduled hours and remaining hours. You can see at this right-hand side, the filter is just looking at this fiscal quarter. So it's actually saying, you know, this fiscal quarter, you've got this percentage schedule hours, and really easily can update that. So if you want to look at the next fiscal quarter, what it looked like previously, etc., it's one click away. The same with months. So for example, I'm looking at months. If I just wanted to look at it by weeks, you can see how quickly, easily, dynamically they update. The idea behind this is you're not on here just looking at 4 dashboards. Because of this filter capability down this right-hand side, you can actually get, you know, hundreds, thousands of dashboards within a few seconds of what you're wanting. So then if you want to, you know, filter by a certain practice, by a certain region, or filter out a certain region, really quick and simple. The one I probably think is the best is looking at capacity by resource, but maybe not just resource. I can change that and look at capacity by skill. So not only can I think about, you know, outside hires capability, I can also do kind of cross-skilling and upskilling. So you can look at skills here and say, you know, we don't have a lot of capacity in GDPR, so let's, you know, try and upskill quite a lot of our resource pool into that. And, you know, that helps your kind of employment as well as your margins, really. So if we just kind of wrap up on this side, you can see kind of how we can track capacity along with demand, and you can strike a nice balance between the two, really. I can really balance my workload of my resources to ultimately assign the right resources to the right projects at the right time, and then hopefully that means that everything then is on budget.
Brilliant, thanks, Dan. A couple of other things. Obviously, if you're using the right skills, that it stops things like talent hoarding, and it really is respectful of people. I mean, we think about people in services organizations, you know, this is key talent. We want to make sure that we serve them well. So giving them the right projects to work on with the right tools and not overburning them is absolutely critical. And making all that complex stuff, again, look very simple. You know, there's a lot of power there, but it's a very engaging interface and a very engaging way of doing it. Super. Last piece, if you could just sort of take us into actually running a project itself and show us what that might be like, Sam. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, as we've seen, we've kind of tied up sales and services. We've ensured our resources are well utilised, but now we're actually going to look at how we deliver what we've promised, basically. So ultimately, if I don't have a handle on this as a delivery manager, my projects will run late, they'll run over budget, and again, we'll operate in a world of poor customer satisfaction. So let's go back into the org. I'll just cross that down. Okay, so when we think about project performance, there's so many different kind of metrics to track and financial information. Fortunately, PSA allows you to do this, as you could see in Einstein earlier or in the dashboards. You can see the metrics on a global manner, and as well, you can drill down and slice and dice your data how you need to. So slice and dice by region, practice, certain information you want to. And then as well, each one of these, you can drill down into the underlying information to get all of that, all of the metrics for each key project. So for this, we'll just go into a project called Rossmore Multi-Element. So when we're clicking on the project page here, we define this as something called a Project 360. So what I mean by that is basically that you've got a full view or a 360 view of what is happening on your project. So not only do you have like the details here of, you know, the status notes and stuff, but everything that's connected and revolving around this project is here. So all the budgets that have been happening on this project, such as the initial one and change orders, all the milestones, all the fixed fee milestones, all the project tasks, any risks and issues. So everything in these quick links that is embedded on top of the project is here, one click away from the project, really simple to kind of drill down and find that information. If we just kind of scroll through some of the key details here, you can embed dashboards such as you can on every Salesforce page, really. So this one is just estimated versus actual hours, and that you can embed at the right side of your dashboards. If we just scroll down in the screen, we can move down to the financials information. In addition to kind of all the, you know, the budget, the billings, the invoice, all the revenue information that we hold, PSA also captures all the cost information. So as an example, every time we enter time or a time card is submitted on the platform, it has a revenue implication as well as a cost implication. And PSA automatically picks this up and associates to the project. So all of these records are updated and kept up to date in real time. This basically means that you can get a real-time margin out of your project and compare it to basically what is your projected margin or planned margin, for example. If you're not that interested in financials and you're an hours kind of person as well, you can have other data points triggered. So things like estimate to complete or EAC. And this basically is an aggregate of all the assigned hours at the moment. All these kind of rich data points or rich things you can embed and put into things such as a status report that you can send out to your customer and collaborate with your customer on. So that's kind of facts and figures, but to run a good project, it's not just about facts and figures, it's actually doing the tasks and seeing how the, you know, the project life cycle of the task works, really. So we also have something embedded in here called a Gantt chart. And a Gantt chart allows you to do kind of, you know, bottom-up planning, task assignments, and again, see the schedule of when your tasks are going to be done. So here you've got a visual representation to the right-hand side, and you've got the lists of, you know, parent tasks, milestones, and subtasks that you need to complete. You can put dependent and independent tasks, which are these arrows here. So for example, if I can't do the design workshop and I need to drag it out for a few weeks, all the dependent tasks will drag out with it, and all the updates, as you can see, all the dates are updated automatically. As I said earlier, you can assign each resource to each task that they need to complete and do some kind of bottom-up planning if that's how you need to work. Ultimately as well, you can actually print out this Gantt chart. So if you want to, collaborate with your customer again, give them some visible information into what your planning is doing, how the project is running, you can just print it, save it as a PDF, email it through, however you need to do it for the customers. If we go back onto the project now, the final closing thing I want to show you is something called a project burn-up. So the project burn-up is using our intelligent analytics tool. And what this is basically doing is it's learning from past behavior and putting in algorithms, and it's predicting when it thinks you're going to run out of budget. So between September and November here, it's predicting that we're going to run out of budget. So as a project manager, I can be really proactive in, thinking about raising a change request, being really on top of how the hours are submitted through, August, September, etc. And ultimately, this is just helping me run my projects more smoothly. So kind of through visibility and interlocking data, we can see how you can maximize margins, you can create happy customers with the collaborations, but also you're trying to create like happy project managers and happy project teams. No one will feel the need to move to their own spreadsheets, hopefully. And so the idea here is that you've got that one source of truth, the same correct data, so you're not worried about versions and rekeying mistakes, really.
Brilliant, thanks, Sam. So all of the data in one place, simple to use tools. Going back to the SPI research that I alluded to, more effective projects, translates into better financial performance, EBITDA, whatever. But let's not forget about that customer satisfaction piece. If you are an immature professional services organization compared to a mature one, the metrics suggest that your ability to deliver those projects on time goes from 60% up to over 90%. So getting the right tooling in place, completely integrated, as well as all the other pieces that go in place, can have a dramatic impact upon the performance that you deliver to your customers. And frankly, that's the seed corn for growth within the organization, which is what we're all after: profitability and growth. That I think finishes the presentation. Dwayne, I'm not sure if we've got any time for any questions.
I'm sure we could open up some. Don't see any questions coming through, but obviously if anybody wants to raise any questions, by all means, pop them across and we'll answer them. Yeah, fantastic job, Sam. Really, really good. Highlights everything that, as I mentioned before, the pain points that our customers struggle with, and just having everything all in one place just makes life so different for everyone. And then, like you said, Andy, I've always got a motto that I say: less is more. And just making a nice, easy, simple interface is just amazing for everybody, because they're doing complex jobs, they're busy people. So giving them a simple tool to use is just helps them out as well.
Completely.
We've got one question: is there an integration with Jira? And can timesheet entries be allocated to Jira tasks?
Yeah, so we do have a pre-built integration. It's with Jira Cloud. The underlying, exactly how the tasks, time entries, etc., can be defined, but we do have a pre-built integration. Yes.
Excellent. Cool. Is there any other questions from anybody?
Okay, I would say that if anybody's interested in the SPI research, then you can get a copy of it to download. Just ask Dwayne, and we can get that sorted out.
Yeah. I think you were too good, Sam.
We know that.
Question.
We know that. Yeah.
No problem.
I think that was the only question. I suppose the one thing that maybe we didn't quite highlight from that, Sam, but maybe we could just allude to is the sort of connection between being able to take the timesheet data and the expenses and that sort of stuff from projects that have been entered in, and quickly be able to create the invoices that maybe need to be billed from that. could you just maybe talk a little bit about that and how easy that is?
Yeah, sure. So as a fellow accountant, that's really kind of important to me, underlying at heart, really. So as I showed you with the kind of sales service alignment, really simple. You don't really know where PSA starts and the accounting or stops and the accounting starts. So billing, all the kind of billing that's wrapped up, easily pushed through to an invoice, expense reports, vendor invoices. So, you know, being able to reimburse people, really kind of simplistic. And then again, probably the other thing that kind of links to accounting is the revenue recognition that you mentioned. So easily we can, you know, pop revenue recognition under the professional services application and then ultimately post out a journal that goes into accounting. So seamlessly connected.
And that includes all your milestones, your T&E, and all of those kind of different variants on billing that you so often need in a services business.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose you could do that on a project by project basis. It doesn't have to be a blanket all for that organization, which is just amazing.
Mm.
Excellent. I don't see any other questions other than people just thanking you very much, Sam, and saying it was a very good presentation.
No problem.
And it was very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, like Andy said, if you have any questions or if you want to get access to the report that he mentioned, by all means, contact me. Let me know. We'll probably be contacting you next week at some point just to get some feedback from yourselves on how the presentation went and what you thought. But yeah, as always, if you need anything, just shout. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.